Okay, I just need to cover the other important part of structured or complex variables that I will also be using heavily a lot later on in the GCP resource management section. So in this video, I will talk about two main points: the complex variables, what they are and how to declare them, and of course, how to use them with a usage example. And then I will close the topic of variables by the introduction of a file called terraform.tfvars. This is what I mentioned in my previous video, and I will show you how to create that file, how to use it, and basically you will immediately see the benefit of that file once I show you that demo for it. So let's jump into the first point, which is what are the complex variables that I keep mentioning them for a while right now. Well, these are structured variables, as I also mentioned that. So meaning they are structured, they are a composite stuff. If I want to explain it probably visually, I think you can see it better. But if I want to explain that in words, first of all, you are declaring them with a specific structure, such as you are declaring a list or you are declaring an object or a map, and then you define the type of this list, for example. If you are declaring an object, for example, then for each item in this object, you define the type. I'm not sure if you got the point, but again, I will show you now in the demo. You will see how flexible, how awesome this is, and how easy it is as well to be understood. They are very useful because you can create variable structures that simulate whole sections of your configuration. And you also can create lists and then iterate these lists and process them later on through loops. And I will talk about loops later on, not in this section, but when we need to use loops, I will talk about those. Now, one of the very immediate use cases that I see for that is you define a list of strings with the list of APIs and services that you want to enable upon a project creation. So let's say that you're creating a template to manage your project creation, and you want to enable a set of services such as Compute Engine, Kubernetes Engine, whatever service upon the project creation. So you put these services in a list of strings, and then you let Terraform do the rest of the work for you. How do you work with these variables, right? How do we declare them and how we actually put them into action here? So let me show you the example that I want to work with. Now, if you've seen in my previous video, I have defined a lot of variables. Actually, these are not a lot. When you see big configuration, these are nothing compared to what you can see. But then part of what I have defined, there are 4 variables for the VM configuration: VM name, VM type, VM image, and VM startup script. So I want to put these in an object, and then I want to use the values of that object in my configuration. And the reason is I can have everything related to the VM inside a single object that I will name VM configuration. So let me start with this. So let me go to the bottom of this page and let me create a new block. Again, we're defining a variable here. So we'll start by variable. I don't really want to do this automatically. So the name of the variable will be VM_config, right? You can just name it whatever you want. I mean, it's what I understand will be the configuration of the VM. Then opening or creating the block. So for this one, I will not start with the type. I will start with the description. And the description will be the VM configuration values and properties. And you will see now why I want to start with this first of all. Then when I do the type, and when I type object, you will see what it's creating for me here. So it opened a bracket, and now it wants me to build my object. So I want to build my object here. There is one thing that I want to do here. Okay, yeah, well, that's better for me at least. So now what I have created on top was VM name, VM type, VM image, and VM startup script. Let me type them here. So this one, I will change it to VM underscore name. And this will be strange. So we'll type strange. The next one, you just separate them by line. So the next line will be VM type. Well, this is not type, this is type. I cannot properly type today, but whatever. Then we have the VM image. Then again, it's a strange value. Then that is a little bit long, so I'll just copy it. And I will name it here. Again, equals string. Okay, we're still not done yet. I've built my object here, but then I need to assign values for it, right? So what I will do is I will go another line and then I will type default. Now, because this is an object type, it will give me the same structure for my object. So the first property here is the name. So VM underscore name will be, I just need to copy that from the top. VM name, this is the VM name. And the same goes for the rest of the objects. VM type equals F1 micro. I know this, I don't need to copy it. Then VM image, and then finally VM startup script for whatever imaginary application that we have. That's it. Our variable is ready and the values are defined again within the same block of defining the same variable, which will change. So just don't worry about it now. So how do I use this in my configuration? Well, this is very simple. I need to go to the, actually I need to save this, and then I need to go to sample basic vm.tf, and then I will have to change this into something else. Again, I will do var. Now I have created a var called vmconfig, right? So I will type vm underscore config. You see the autocomplete there came by itself. Now, this is an object, so it contains stuff inside it. So I'll type dot and then vm underscore name. That's it. This is how you refer to the object variables. So you put the variable name and then the item inside it. That's it. So again, I can change this into var.vm underscore config and then .vm VM type. Then this one is the image, so we'll do var. I will remove this vm underscore config, then .vm image, right? Because this is the image. Finally, we have the startup script config, actually vm config .vm underscore startup script. That's it. This is how we use the objects. Let me do another example for you to introduce another complex variable, which is the list variable. I will actually convert the tags to the list variable. So let's go back to variables.tf. First of all, let me remove the other configuration. All of that is no longer needed now because it's defined in this object variable. Let me make another one which is called variables, then vm underscore tags. And then I will start by the type this time, which is list, and the type is string. Then the description to the vm. Again, just for me to understand what is this variable for, and then let's assign a value for it by typing default. Now you see it's a list, so it automatically created the start and end brackets here. And just for the sake of making this easy, I'll just keep it in a single line. So first of all, you have SSH. Let's add another one. Let's call it Flask, and then let's make another one which is called web. So these are the well, let's make it web app just so that we understand what is the meaning of web. This is our list variable. Now you can do it in one line or you can do it in a single line for each item. it doesn't really matter. But when you have a lot of items, it makes sense to have it like that so that you understand what is going on with this variable, right? So yeah, but let's just do it in a single line so that we can make things easier. Now, again, I will take the name of that, go to save this, obviously, and go to the VM file, replace this value with var.vm tags. That's it. This is all what we need to do. Now, when I save, or when I just do Terraform validate, just to validate if everything is fine, then let me just clear the view. And then let me do Terraform apply and see what's going to happen. So the deployment is already existing, and now this is a good example of what's going to happen with this. So there is one resource to change. Just forget about it. It's a preemptable VM or spot VM, so just forget about this. And you see it's going to add 2 more tags, right? Because these are the ones were defined in my variables here in the VM tag. So it's going to add Flask, it's going to add web app. So I will type yes, and now we'll see these changes reflected live on the VM once the changes are applied. Okay, the changes are applied, and if I show you the GCP project again, and if I refresh, then if I go inside the VM, somewhere here will be the tags that I have just created, and these are the network tags: Flask, SSH, and web app. Now, let me take this one little step further. Again, because I want this variable to have everything related to my VM configuration. I just don't want to define many different variables for my VM. I just want everything to be in one single place. Let me do, let me simulate the structure, and let me put the tags right after the type here. So I will go one line, then I will type VM underscore tags, then equals, this time I will make it list, and list of strings as well. Okay. Now this has become a little bit more complex variable, right? Now, because I have a list, I have another complex variable defined inside it. And you know what? I can't just do like this. I can even make it more complex by typing object and define even more objects inside it. So yeah, I don't want to do that. I mean, this is just to show you how far you can go if you really wanted to complicate stuff. So VM tags is here. I will go one line after the VM type, do VM underscore tags. It's not rags, tags. And then I'll just copy the values that I have created here already. Again, you can have them in a single line or multiple lines, depending on how large the values that you want to have are. And then let me delete this one. Let me save this file. And then let me go back to the VM configuration file, change this into var.vmconfig.vm tags. Again, this is a list, so it will match the expected value for this one. Save it again. Now let me just destroy everything. So we'll destroy everything and rebuild everything so that you can see how Terraform will just take everything here and apply it as it is. Okay, things are destroyed. So let me do Terraform apply again. And let me go through these changes. Now you will see in the plan, it's going to create the same tags as I have defined in the, and these are the tags that I have. So it will create these tags. The VM will be in this zone. It will have a boot disk of whatever size is still not known. This is the image of the boot disk that is also defined in the variables and all of that. So just typing yes, and let it create the VM and take its time for it. I will obviously pause and come back when it's done. Okay, it's done. So let's go back to the console here. And this is the VM. I refreshed off the screen, so it came back again. I wanted to show you the view before there was any VM, so that you can again refresh in front of you and show you that. But anyways, this is the new VM. And again, when I scroll down a little bit, I will see that it contains the same tags and everything is fine.